checking out a really unique pair of electric bikes today. These are the Mars M2. This thing is completely customizable, and even the tires, the rims, it's kind of like motorcycle parts. This is a Harley seat on this one. You'll notice it's completely different than the saddle on this one. Got a 42-tooth chainring, 38-tooth chainring. The things that they have in common are these like footrests sort of setup, and you see that, you know, it's a bicycle. It does have pedals here, but the way they're positioned, it's really not, it's not the most fun bike to pedal around. They're pretty heavy depending on the battery configuration that you go with. This is a 1,000-watt gearless direct drive hub motor. Pretty heavy, but pretty durable, powerful, definitely powerful. Extra thick spokes on this thing so it can handle that weight. A little bit of a longer reach, so the swept back bars on this one make it a little bit more like a chopper, and the rake up here, it's really angled out and kind of bowed, so you get that low rider look. You get that really relaxed feel when you actually use the foot pads. So this is much more like kind of an electric scooter, almost like approximating that motorcycle feel. Coming back to legality and stuff, 1,000-watt motor, so that's definitely a step up. In the United States, they limit it at 750. So I have my motorcycle license. This doesn't have all the appropriate lights and stuff, but if you're riding around a neighborhood, or if you have some private property, or if you just don't care, I mean, this thing is pretty badass. And it comes in any different color that you want. It comes with like custom paint. You can even get a sound system hooked up with this one. This one's from Kicker, and they've wired it in and done a little custom bezel so it fits around the display panel with all your control pads and stuff. The battery on this, I think it was, what was this, 48 volt, 20 amp hour, and it comes in few different configurations, 20 amp hour, 40 amp hour, or 60 amp hour. So you could, you know, max out at like 40 or so miles per charge up to like over 100. And I'm being a little conservative there, considering how large the battery is. Part of that's due to the weight, but these are really smooth rolling tires. I mean, again, they're motorcycle tires. They're kind of like slicks. They're really burly. They're solid. I did some measurements on it because they don't use the same measurements as a bike. It's like 2.75-21. I measured it, and these are like 27.5 in diameter. So they're gonna roll. They've got good momentum. They're smooth. The bike feels pretty good, especially if you get the sprung option on the saddle, or even just the softer, big, comfy saddle. It's really hard to make any sort of review statements about this, because if you have these big handlebars, they're gonna kind of dampen your ride a little bit, and you're gonna have that upright feel and that resting in that saddle. I guess the point is, it's a really cool electric bike, something that's artistic, something that's powerful, customizable for the range that you want. And these are actually custom built for Sam. How's it going, buddy?
Good, good.
Thanks for giving me a moment to go through and appreciate these. These guys, you know, from what I understand, they're local, and you know, your shop here in Fullerton, California, in SoCal, you know, Electric Bicycle Center, you used to do more gas stuff. You kind of got your fingers in all sorts of different things.
Yeah, we merged from being a moped shop into motorized scooters, and now we're exclusively doing electric bikes for the most part.
Yeah.
Casey Mars came rolling into my shop in a big black van, and he introduced himself to my wife a couple of years back, and he was building these, the M1, which is the predecessor to the M2.
Okay, makes sense.
And I told him we should call it the El Mirage, but he went with the...
Why?
Because El Mirage is a dry lake bed that we have around here. It's all flat, and it's kind of a speed, cool looking, like a SoCal, kind of a speed shop look to it, you know?
Yeah.
And his M1 was like an $8,000 custom bike, and they were handmade and shipped all around the world, but it took him like, you know, a while to get each one of those built, and he wanted to go into more a production run with a more affordable price point. And coming out to some of the shows and talking to people, $3,500 was the price point. That's
the base price with the 48, 20 amp hour. Okay.
Yeah, so the base price was going to be around $3,500, but by the time we'd done all the options, this bike was specifically built for me, and with my size, this is a custom cut Harley Sportster seat. We got the really outrageously oversized wide bars here, like a flat tracker, even more exaggerated than a flat tracker bar.
Okay.
But if you're sitting on this bike and you're riding for 40, 50, 60 miles, it's comfortable. I have no problem riding this bike a long distance. As a matter of fact, we started from Trussell's down in South Orange County and made it to the Mexican border on them.
Oh my gosh. Did they welcome you across? They're like, come to the party.
No, we cruised on down. Torrey Pines really kills your battery climbing the hills. And like, as you stated, you can kind of assist the bike if you're going up a really steep hill and your speeds are below 5 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But anything above 5 miles an hour, you're just riding this thing and you're just chilling out. And it was really nice to be able to like look out and see the surf and smell the, you know, the fresh salt air and going down through all the coastal cities. It was a fun experience on a quiet electric vehicle that Casey's built here.
Truly an electric vehicle. It sounds like they can limit the speed at 20 miles per hour, and you can kind of shift by a little bit and be like fly under the radar with this, even though it's a 1,000-watt motor. But if you want, you unlock it and you what, 30 miles per hour?
Yeah, it'll hit about 30 miles an hour, and you're just cruising along. Now, as you're climbing hills, that speed will slow down. But on the flats, you're cruising right at about 30 miles an hour. That's a pretty good clip.
So let me talk, like, I like these. I appreciate the artistic aesthetic. They are comfortable, and it's interesting because it seems like the frame sizes are sort of the same, but you sort of customize it based on your saddle position and the bars and everything. And you're much bigger than me, but we both seem to fit all right. Yeah,
so again, it's a one-off. You pick the color you want, you pick the saddle you want, you tell them if you want, like, come over and look at Kanika's bike. It's got suspension on the rear end. She wanted a suspension seat.
Good thinking. I like Kanika. She's got the right idea.
Yeah, we threw the sound system on her bike and we put 2 batteries in there.
Yeah.
So we went from a base model bike, and we've got about $5,000 in this bike.
Wow.
$5,000 in my bike. Now, I don't have the sound system, but I've got the 3 battery packs in there.
Okay.
So that's 3 48-volt 20-amp-hour battery packs times 3. That's a 60-amp-hour battery.
Jeez.
And it's got that ability to stack them up because of the frame and the body. He's got the bodywork here. They're perfectly sized to that size battery, and he just stacks them up on the inside there.
And speaking of the battery box, look at this. You were saying these are called louvers.
Yeah.
So they're like little, it's like the hood of old sports cars where like air gets sucked in and then it kind of blows out that vent. Is that right?
And that's right where your controller is. You want to keep the controller cool if you're climbing a lot of hills.
That's true.
Yeah. Speaking of holes, when we went through Camp Pendleton on our way to Mexico, you have to wear a helmet and you've got to show your ID. And we had a chase van with us to pick us up down to Mexico and bring us back to Orange County. But they threw me out a helmet that had a couple bullet holes in it, and it was an old like World War II helmet.
How cool.
And I threw that on at the guard shack at Camp Pendleton. I don't know how they felt about that. And we just cruised on down to Oceanside with it.
Wow, what an adventure. You know, it's great to celebrate these things. You know, I'm trying to do the review thing where you're talking about the pros and cons. It's heavy. It can get kind of expensive, but you get a lot of value. I mean, $3,500, it's even $5,000. It's like, wow, that starts to sound like a lot, but not really. Even when some of these,
it's a one-of-a-kind, custom-made, American-built hot rod is what you're riding around on.
It's true, yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
It's like the Fonz, you know, or like Peter Fonda, or you know, it's totally custom. It's
everywhere we've gone today, you know, it's like sunset happening. People are in Fullerton, California. There's some really cool art that we were trying to get some photos near a moment ago. Because that's sort of the culture around here. It's like the chopper. A lot of people were like, whoa, what is that? Whoa, is that one of those new bikes? What is that?
Yeah, they're tripping on it because it's unique and it's different.
Yeah.
And it's not like your typical electric bike.
Well, you said you kind of customize these ones. I mean, are these yours? You're keeping forever? Or you have the shop? You sell them?
So I've had my fun with them. We've done our rides on them, and they're for sale. You know, come on down to the shop and make an offer on them and pick them on up.
Because they're custom. So to have this done, someone would have to wait a long time probably to get their own.
The build time is a little bit longer, but again, it's your specification of whatever you want. That custom paint, the custom geometry of the bars. There's a lot of different things they can do. Check out the pedals on this one, for instance. These are like these really cool brass pedals.
Wow.
And look at the crank arms. You know, these aren't your typical bicycle crank arms by any means here.
Sunday. That made it really hard. You know, I fill out all the specs and stuff, and I'm trying to like categorize bikes and measure, and it's like impossible with these things because it is so unique, but that's part of the fun. There's some of those common themes, the swept back head tube, like just the style and the way that they've built the battery and everything in there, the black spokes, the matching motor. I like that. The really reinforced dropout back here. This is sturdy, and the chain, this is a really unique chain. I haven't seen one of those before, and it almost looks like the motorcycle chain. You said that these are motorcycle rims and tires.
And spokes as well.
And spokes.
Laced up, yeah. But let me roll the bike forward a little bit here and sit down on it. You can see this was custom made for a guy that's 6'4", you know, 260 pounds, and I can totally ride this all day long in comfort as I cruise around wherever it is. The boardwalk, heading down Highway 1, they're a blast.
That's cool. I like the bell too. You got kind of a custom bell. That one has its own unique bell. I want to talk about some of the other trade-offs, some of the challenges I noticed.
Sure.
The battery charging port. It's right here, it's pretty well protected, but to get to it, it seems like you might get a little bit greasy, or you have to reach around the chain.
You do, and you get your hand dirty every time you plug it in.
Bit, you know, so it's kind of like it's a badge of honor, I guess. Like, yeah, I'm working on my bike, and like, I don't know, that's how I feel. It's rattly. When I was riding, I was surprised because there's a little bit of clunk, clunk, like the battery bounces a little bit.
Again, this is production number 1, serial number 0001.
Right here?
That's 000 number 2.
Wow.
So these are first 2 off the production line, and yes, there are little improvements that can be made. You need to rubberize or insulate each battery so they're not banging into each other when you hit bumps and you get a little bit of air inside there.
Okay.
That would be an improvement I would recommend. And also most common thing I hear from people is, dude, where's your front brake, you know?
Oh,
so
yeah.
At 30 miles an hour, trying to do a panic stop on this thing would be a nightmare. And it's cool, it's got that kind of flat tracker look, you know, no brake on the front. But you've got the big 203 millimeter rotor.
Just Shimano hydraulic.
So you can lock that back brake up, lickety split.
And they kept the wires to a minimum. See, it's all shrouded right there in that case, and then there's only one wire coming out of the box back there. So this thing doesn't look tacky.
If you wanted the front brake, I'm sure Casey could do it for you though.
Yeah.
So if you feel safer with that front brake, again, it'll just add to the build cost. You build it to whatever specifications you want.
Other thoughts here. I like that, you know, we were able to get the seat off, looked like a 27.2 millimeter seat post. So if you didn't have a completely custom seat post made, you could adapt your own and get like a thud buster or a body float. Feels weird, like even thinking about what that would look like on this bike, because it's...
Well, for me, I would go with like old school, like a hardtail. They used to put springs back here on the frame and bring them straight up,
yeah.
and it's sprung like that. That's like an old school, like my old Triumph hardtails I used to ride, and the Harleys and the Indians. They have a suspension seat post like that. That's probably more in line with what the look of the bike would be.
There's one other kind of complaint or question mark I had when we rode over here. You know, I was on this one, the black one, and you know, it's a big, powerful motor, but there were times where I wasn't yet moving, and I like juiced it, I twisted that throttle, and it was it like didn't start right away.
That's the magnets inside there, so you got to get them rolling, and once they catch, then it's going to go.
A little bit of momentum,
and
yeah.
Another thing is, you know, I think 1,000 watt 48 volt, it's going to have extreme acceleration. These bikes are really mellow in their power delivery. They don't jump up on you, and I think Casey did that on purpose. So if somebody comes up and accidentally grabs the throttle while the power's on, the bike's not going to rip away from you. It takes off nice and slow, and it takes about 10, 15 miles an hour, and then you're starting to generate more and more acceleration on it.
Yeah, it's like some kind of a higher speed versus the high torque configuration.
Correct.
So it was yeah, once I got going a little bit, it was like, oh yeah, and it delivers that speed. I like that the whole handlebar twists.
It's
of course it would, right? And even the grips, they're kind of like motorcycle style a little bit more.
Definitely, yeah. But again, Casey can build it the way you want it. If you live in a really hilly area, they can do different things with the controller and wire up your batteries differently. They can build a monster to just take off and burn rubber off the line if you want with this setup.
Okay.
I prefer to have range though, and I'm not so concerned with acceleration due to the fact I got the brake the way it is, and that's got that cool look, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
It's set up the way I wanted it. So again, it was built for my needs the way I wanted it. Custom make it however you want. Talk to Casey down there at Mars Cycles in Orange, and they'll get you set up.
Okay, well, this is really awesome to see. Maybe you can hop on that one, toss the helmet on, and I can show what you look like riding around, and then I'll get some frame shots, you know, just to show the thing in action.
Yeah, one other thing, you get one of these bikes, I guarantee you're gonna be the only one in town that has one.
Yeah, definitely making a statement. There's a little bit of a growl with the motor. Yeah, like let's do a little ride by. That's cool. found a quiet, beautiful stretch of road right here. I wanted to show you how to activate this thing. You see there's like a breakout button pad. This is fairly stock, like the display panel I've seen before. I don't know if it's King meter or what, but you press power right in the middle, and then it shows your battery level. There's like 4 little bars. Speed, this one's in kilometers per hour right now. I think you can hold the up and down to do some settings. Distance, temperature outside, degrees Celsius, and then there's assist. So this display, again, I've seen it on other bikes before. You can kind of arrow up and down, but this one, it doesn't actually have pedal assist, so it kind of doesn't matter what that says. I just have it in 5 right now. It's kind of default. You can look down and kind of see the pedals, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of pedaling when we take a ride, but for now I wanted to, you know, just twist the throttle and give you a little bit of a demo. This is what I was talking about before. If you just jam it, see how it kind of stalls? It's like I'm trying to go, but I'm forcing it a little bit too much. That's the torque setting. This one's geared for, I think, a little bit higher speed. Then you get a little bit of speed going like this. It just takes off. You can see my legs have plenty of clearance. If I tried to pedal though, you know, really tucked in. Okay, so this time I'm gonna cruise behind Sam and just, you know, give you some idea of what it's like to ride this. You wanna go ahead and take off, Sam?
Sure, let's follow me.
There we go. Get that speed going. You can hear it humming a little bit, which is kind of fun. Yeah. Looking good.
Speed bump.
Oh, yep. Nice, man.
Nice wide road here too.
Yeah, this is perfect. It's like smooth. Perfect. Okay, so we made it back to the shop. I wanted to, you know, see the inside of this thing. There's just a single little screw right there, and then this swings open really nicely like that, and you can see the battery boxes in here. These look like kind of traditional, I don't know, rack mount batteries that I've seen.
Yeah, they are. Like you'd see on like a Pedigo.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the older Pedigos had these, you know, aluminum casing. I think they're pretty durable, but they're just kind of standard. And that's maybe why we heard the rattling a little bit.
That's the rattling right there. And then they got these big connections coming out of each one of them. Look at the gauge of the wiring here.
Man, really thick.
Yeah, much more heavy duty than what you normally see on some of the other product that we work on.
There's the control box at the back. There's the vent that we were talking about at the top. So it does vent.
Yeah, you've got your louvers in the front here, and it sucks air along the side of the battery all the way to the back into this area here, and then it'll exit out through here. Some people think those are speakers inside.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first.
Maybe we got enough room in there for a speaker. I don't know.
Well, and the other piece that is worth calling out is the battery charger down here. I think this is 12 amp. That's amazing. Most electric bike battery chargers are between 2 and 4 amps. It is heavier. It's about 4 pounds. It almost looks like a battery box. It's silver box here. It's got a fan built in, huge connector. So you don't really have to open up, and you probably never will open up the side of the bike like we just did. It's not like an electric bike where you take the batteries out to charge them. You need to bring this whole thing to the charger and plug it in. The other thing that's worth calling out here while we're down on the ground is the kickstand. This is sort of an aftermarket kickstand that they've installed, and you can see on the other Mars bike back there, it's using a different type of kickstand, and that's because if you back this bike up, the crank arms are gonna swing around and they're gonna make contact, and it can just break that kickstand off. That's kind of what happened?
I've broken it off 3 times.
3 times.
I always forget, and I back it up, and bam, and there goes the kickstand.
It's just so large and heavy, and it's like, okay, so that's an area where it's nice that they've got that nice big mounting plate so you can add your own kickstand if you like us and break it off. Yeah. But keep that in mind. The other thing I noticed is that there wasn't a brake inhibitor on the lever up here. I mean, it's a solid brake, but you've only got one, and that since the whole thing is a twist throttle, it's easier to accidentally, it's not on, is it, Sam? No. It's accidentally, like, you're moving this around, maneuvering it. It's a heavier bike, so you hold on to it a little bit more, and you can accidentally engage that throttle. And I don't know, a couple times I've just like noticed, whoa, got a little zippy. Need to be a little bit careful with that, but yeah, kind of neat. And the weight, it's low and centered, it's well distributed. I think they did a good job visually. You can see the Saunders bike over there. That's kind of like a similar concept, and they're going for the cool look with the big tires and stuff. This is just like 100 times cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah, but where's the water bottle cage?
Oh, yeah, Sam. Oh my gosh, you're right. They're missing something on this. And I think it's like a beer holder right here, maybe.
Well, they call it a bar hopper, you know. If you need a water bottle cage on this, I think you just head over to the bar and pull over and stop.
And let's be honest about it. I'm gonna shout out some. I'm gonna generalize a little bit. If you lose your license from drinking and driving, what are you gonna do? You walk, you get a bicycle, you get an electric bike like this, you're back on the road, you don't need a license or insurance. It's a solution. I think a lot of people turn to electric bikes, and this would be the coolest electric bike. You wouldn't be so shameful.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, you'd have no problem rolling up to the bar in this.
It's pretty cool. I think people would be like, what is that, man? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, you'd be the talk of the place, for sure.
It's cool. Thanks, man.
All right.
Great to see.
Forget your Harleys. Ride to Mars.
Well, I think that's as close to a review as we can get. I mean, it's a little bit more of an overview, but you've had this, you've actually done some longer rides. Has anything broken on you? Has it?
Nothing.
Pretty reliable?
And it's one of the most comfortable, funnest rides I've ever had with an electric bike. It's fantastic for doing long rides. There's nothing that'll beat it as far as comfort on a long ride. I mean, just take a look at that saddle, man.
Yeah.
That's off of a Harley, a Sportster. You're not going to get a more comfortable ride than that. I'm telling you, I've ridden lots of electric bikes. I've never gone for as long as I did with this, and we had a blast. It took the whole day to get down to Mexico, and we had a total blast going down through Carlsbad, Cardiff by the Sea, all the way down through Del Mar and up to La Jolla, and then on down into Pacific and Mission Beach. We had such a good time. Well,
thanks again, Sam. It's always a pleasure. It's really special to get to see some of these custom builds. For the full write-up, and as a lot of custom, a lot of like option information on that, you can check out ElectricBikeReview.com. Maybe you got one of these. You want to share some stories about your experience, and maybe the founder or someone will chime in, because this is kind of like a tight-knit community around this thing.
Yeah, I know Miller Welder got one too, and it was custom painted like a Miller Welder, because they use Miller Welders. And again, there's pride in this bike. You know, it's made right here in Orange County. This isn't something that's coming from China. This is all American made right here from SoCal.
That's cool. That's very cool. Well, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.
Yep.